Canelo in Riyadh in May, the big fight in the history of boxing.
Been too much for Crawford. Crawford in his last fight against Madrov, that was a tough fight for him. About a guy, what, he had 10 or 11 pro fights. That was a tough fight for him.
In my opinion, both size might matter, but then again, I think since when I fought Canelo's become a better boxer. He started boxing more better. You know what I mean? Technical more.
After the Jake Paul fight debacle, the Canelo Alvarez fiasco goes on as new reports regarding a shocking 4-fight deal are made public by His Excellency Turki Alalshikh. The Mexican fighter, who has been the center of scrutiny and discussion for the last couple of months due to his rather vexed choice of opponents and eccentric business dealings, has recently garnered a lot of attention from the boxing community due to his potential fight with none other than Bud Crawford, which finally seems to be on the path of completion after the recent reports have surfaced claiming the whole scenario about Canelo fighting Jake Paul was nothing but a supposed tactic to gain more press for what was about to come. Reporter this entire debacle, renowned reporter Mike Coppinger tweeted ESPN's story on the twists and turns from a wild night in the boxing business as Canelo Alvarez nixed a Jake Paul fight at the 11th hour to close a 4-fight deal with Riyadh season with a May fight in Saudi Arabia and a September bout with Terence Crawford. Sharing further details on this matter, His Excellency Turki Alalshikh took to his Twitter account to reveal that regardless of the incessant criticism that they faced in the last couple of days from all sorts of analysts and experts, they have fulfilled their promise and have been successful in orchestrating a magnificent 4-fight deal with one of the biggest fighters of this generation, which will not only provide the fans with the fights that they have been yearning for a very long time, but it will also be in Riyadh, setting a meaningful example for one and all. While talking about the highly anticipated Crawford fight, Turki also revealed plans for a mega fight in May, which according to him will be the biggest fight in the history of the sport, followed by 2 big fights in 2026.
Canelo in Riyadh in May, the big fight in the history of boxing. In September, then 2 more fights in 26. Don't miss with the Lion.
Now, although the exact names of these opponents are yet to be officially revealed, except that of Crawford, there are countless speculations surrounding them, especially from Mike Coppinger, who believes that the May fight will either involve Jermall Charlo or Bruno Saras, depending on the availability of the fighters. While talking about the fighters for next year, the reporter commented that the plan seems to be surrounding a rematch with none other than the Russian powerhouse Dmitry Bivol, or a fight with Hamza Shiraz or Chris Eubank Jr. based on the performance of either fighter till that point. After this surprise announcement, the fighters have also jumped forward to express their elation at the fact that they are finally getting this fight. Canelo, who usually refrains from issuing any formal statements regarding any matter until it is solidified, shared his own tweet in response to Turki visibly championing the idea of this fight with Crawford, as well as the extremely lucrative 4-fight deal with Riyadh season, which will fulfill his longtime desire of making a tremendous sum of money. The initial tweet from Turki has stated, "Don't mess with the Lion. 4 fights for Canelo with Riyadh season. The deal is done. A lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinion of a sheep. Fear the lion, not the jungle." In response to which Canelo tweeted, "Let's go, brother." After all these statements being issued from the other side, Terence also stepped forward and expressed his views about the fight in his tweet, stating that after months of hard work and continuous back and forth, he is finally prepared to show the world that he deserves this bout and that he is fully prepared to give everything that he has got to not only get the eminence that he so desires, but also to showcase his immaculate skill set against a fighter of Canelo's caliber. Terence wrote, "I'm waiting on Canelo in September and going to shock the world in Riyadh season." Moving on, along with these announcements, although there has been a vast majority who appear delighted by this new development, there is still a certain group who is not happy with the entire ordeal and has resorted to criticizing not only the fighter involved, but also the entire management behind the scene. Jake Paul, who seems to be the most prominent figure in this minority, appeared less than thrilled with this change of plans and the use of his name for the sole reason of bringing attention to something that does not involve him in the least. Indirectly calling out the fighters and his excellency for his absurd methods, Jake emphasized that in this era, fighters tend to prioritize money and fame over loyalty, which seems to be the biggest downfall for the sport. Jake wrote, "Fighters forget who made them so quick and bring around these weirdos who live to make a percent fee of them. You and your 2010 business skills," making no attempt at hiding his contempt for the Mexican fighter who allegedly ducked him. The notorious boxer took to Twitter to state his disappointment while making harsh comments that regardless of everything that he has labored away in the pursuit of fighting the best of the best, the fighters in the elite position still tend to undermine him and duck him for far easier fights where they have the surety of winning, which in the hindsight goes on to show that they were never really that great or commendable in the first place. He also added that even though he has been an avid supporter of fighters making their own choices and choosing what is best for them, for a boxer like Canelo to duck a fight with him even after making countless claims regarding Turki's business strategies goes on to show that he has no loyalty to the support or his origin and only wants to satisfy his own selfish needs rather than creating a meaningful legacy for his fans. Jake wrote in his tweet, "Breaking news, Canelo Alvarez ducked me Jake Paul and is now an owned slave with no regard for the pride of the Mexican people who support him on US soil. It's not surprising that his whole career he has done nothing for the sport of boxing outside the ring. I'm the new face of boxing." With all this being said, the fighter then ventured on his own image as a fighter, claiming that after the worldwide success of his fight against the legendary fighter Mike Tyson, he has transformed into a global sensation and is now being recognized as one of the best fighters of this generation. So if anyone states that they are going to organize a huge event, then it must include his name. Otherwise, all these claims are nothing but a facade to placate the fans. Now, although it is evident that Jake is frustrated by this refusal, he appeared nonchalant at the end of the tweet by making comments that he is now going to let any of these actions get to him anymore, as in the next few years he will not only transform the sport altogether, but he will also be remembered as the face of boxing. Jake added, "You cannot have the biggest fight of 2025 without my name involved. When all of your events tank and lose money, you will all realize who the king of the sport is. 28 years old, biggest fight in boxing history, my own boss, not owned, 5 years in. All of you felines want to see me fail, but God has other plans. It's the era of good, the era of the elephant, it's the era of MPV." Also poking fun at all the personalities who undermined his methods involving the fight business, especially during the interview involving the famed former fighter and analyst Chris Algieri. Turki took to Twitter to share countless tweets where he addressed this ongoing situation, seemingly emphasizing that although sometimes the negotiations cannot be revealed to the public before proper contemplation, and that some drastic measures have to be taken in order to get the maximum coverage, it does not mean that people have the right to make blatant accusations and start criticizing him considering how they don't even know what is going on behind the scenes.
This fight is not definitely off. This could be a ploy by both sides. One, Turki using his media arm to put the pressure on Team Canelo, and Canelo being like, "Yeah, listen, I don't hit the rush for anybody. You're waiting on me." So I think both of them are jockeying back and forth with their egos and their power. So this fight very well may happen, probably still will. But I think it's going to take we're not going to hear about it till, like I said, with normal Canelo fight 5-6 weeks prior.
You and the man who hired you always had wrong predictions. On the other hand, amid this continuous back and forth between all these personalities, countless members of the industry have also shared their thoughts on the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, including the prominent promoter Frank Warren, who believes that this upcoming fight between the two of the great fighters is far better than the atrocious bout between Canelo and Jake Paul. Sarcastically poking fun at the young fighter for ever taking this fight seriously, Frank stated that even though he admits that Jake has improved over the years, he is nowhere near the level to demand such both against such names, and it is better if he sticks to fighters of his own caliber and weight, as there are countless contenders in his own weight class whom he can call out, rather than taking on a fighter who is at a lower division than him just for the sake of gaining notoriety.
Saying that the fight's off, correct me if I'm wrong.
Currently, that's what we've seen.
Yeah, off in September, and the word in the street is they're trying to make him against Jake Paul, and one of the sticking points is maybe the weight. Money had determined that, wasn't it? Everybody said they want to see Jake Paul fight somebody. He's going to be fighting somebody. Tough fight. I mean, I want to see the Crawford fight. That's the fight I want to see.
Sharing his expert analysis regarding the now confirmed fight, Frank weighed in on the last couple of performances displayed by both Canelo and Crawford, stating that even though he is aware of Terence's skills and his unprecedented attributes, he will be supporting Canelo in this fight based on the most apparent advantage that he seems to have over his opponent, which is the size factor. Along with these factors, Frank also highlighted the other side of this conversation, how after years of fighting and winning against some of the toughest contenders in their respective weight classes, both fighters have reached a stage where they are getting older every day and they have no time to idle around, so it is best for them to get as many as fights they can before their power runs out.
How did you see the Canelo and Crawford fight panning out from your perspective? Obviously,
I
fancied
Canelo. I think Canelo is I mean, with the greatest respect to him, he's obviously older and whatever, and I think he's when you get to a certain time in your career where you're not going to get any better, you're only going to get worse. And but I still think he would be too big and too much for
Frank also talked about Terence and his chances at winning this fight, which according to the promoter seemed to be slim based on his last performance against the much bigger and younger Madrimov, where he not only struggled throughout the fight but also failed to accomplish any promising victory, which might be concerning when he is deciding to move 2 weight classes up to take on a fighter who is a much more lethal threat as compared to the relatively less experienced Madrimov.
Crawford in his last fight against Madrimov, that was a tough fight for him. About a guy, what, he had 10 or 11 pro fights? That was a tough fight for him.
Just like Frank, Teofimo Lopez also expressed his sentiments regarding this fight, emphasizing that irrespective of whom you support in this fight, their performance leading up to this eventual bout will be a major player in this battle, because based on the exact points raised by Frank, both fighters are at a stage where they are getting old and have started to show certain signs of slowing down, so only time can tell which fighter will be the most affected before they enter the ring against one another. Adding on, Teo explained his analysis by stating that in this era of boxing, although fighters tend to maintain their images and fighting styles, at the end of the day, you are only as good as your last fight, because no matter how spectacular you might have been throughout your career, if you fail to deliver a promising performance before a mega fight, then you are automatically downgraded to the status of an underdog in the upcoming fight.
First off, how do you think Canelo and Crawford's going to play out?
Yeah, that's what it's been talking about. They've been talking about it. I mean, listen, they just got to win their fights first, and then we'll see what happens then. You know what I mean? If they're going to fight before they fight each other, I think that's the smartest thing for both parties. And then we see how they look, and we'll go from there. Because nowadays, in the modern day era, you're only as good as your last fight.
However, looking at the past comments issued by the fighter from only a few days back, it is quite evident that he believes that it will be the Mexican fighter who will triumph over his American adversary based on his superior skills and bigger size. Now, according to many people online, especially Bud's fans, these comments issued by Teofimo might be biased based on how both these fighters have shared a rather close, cordial relationship since last year and have been participating in countless sparring sessions in the last couple of months in hopes of getting to know each other's styles and boxing strategies.
We're gonna do big things. I'm telling you right now. I'm gonna talk my. I'm always gonna talk my. But it's not. It's really truth. We're gonna back it up though. What round does Crawford get knocked out? I'm gonna put 8. Let's put it on the universe. So I'm gonna put it on 8. 8. And if it goes the other way, I 8. You know, I 8.
Another prominent fighter who shared his thoughts on this highly anticipated match is Amir Khan, who seems to be in support of Crawford not only based on the close relationship with the fighter, but also for the fact that after sharing the ring with him countless times during various sparring sessions over the years, Amir believes that if there is anyone who is capable of taking down Canelo based on their sheer skills, then that fighter has to be Terence Crawford. Labeling this fight as one of the best in the last couple of years, the British fighter commended Bud for his choice of moving up 2 2 weight classes to fight one of the best fighters in the world while being completely aware of the massive odds that are stacked against him.
I mean, look, there's weights for a reason in boxing, and even though I got a huge respect for Terence Crawford for showing the balls that he wants to go in the ring and fight a beast like Canelo, but like I said, Canelo, maybe Crawford sees something that you know, other people are not seeing against Canelo, which is like maybe he's gone past the sell-by day, and maybe Crawford is the guy to catch him at the right time. I think it's a brilliant fight. Let's see if it happens. But like I said, if it doesn't happen, obviously I'm going to support my boy, Terence Crawford. He's a good friend of mine. Obviously we fought each other, but sometimes you put that to a side, and he shared the training camp with me last time. He spent some good time with me. I was at his house, and always shows love. So
being someone who has observed the fighter during his countless training camps in the last couple of months, Amir emphasized that even though Terence is renowned as a more statistical fighter who usually gets the edge due to his sheer experience and his remarkable ability to adapt and switch stances in accordance to the strategies employed by his opponents, Terence is also a very powerful hitter and can drop down any contender under the appropriate situation regardless of their weight or size advantage over him.
I wish him all the very best, and I think he can do it. You know what I mean? One thing about Terence Crawford, he has great box IQ. His IQ is so perfect where he'll see everything. So yeah, you need everything in the game. You need from your ring IQ, you need the movement, you need the power, you need the speed. And Crawford does hit hard. A lot of people don't give Crawford the credit for the punch power he has. Well, Crawford does hit hard. I mean, I've been in the ring with him. He's hit me hard.
While talking about the dangers that Terence might face during his fight against Canelo, Amir reminisced about his own fight with the Mexican fighter way back in 2016, where just like Terence, he was making a huge weight jump in order to take down one of the best and young fighters of this generation. While recalling what led to his ultimate defeat, Amir stated that even though skills play a major part in boxing fights, eventually under some conditions, weight and size tend to overpower all the other aspects, and that is exactly what happened in this fight between him and Canelo, where he had to face defeat by the ruthless hands of a much more ferocious and hungry version of Canelo.
For him to go up 2 divisions is something I did back in the day when I was at the peak of my career after beating like Devin Alexander and all the big names.
You understand?
What was I thinking? What was I thinking by Canelo?
But that takes a lot of
Canelo's
balls.
a beast, man. Canelo's a beast, and you know when it was offered to me, I tried to chase the Mayweather fight at that time, and it happened. And obviously I was probably at my peak of my career then as well. So whoever I was gonna fight, I was gonna give him a hard fight regardless. Because we were probably winning that fight against Canelo until he knocked me out. But
Beautiful.
yeah, I was boxing well, but you know one thing, sizes. There's now I understand why they make weight divisions in boxing. Every weight division, but then again.
Warning Crawford regarding the immense challenge that awaits him in September, Amir stated that since his fight with Canelo, the fighter has not only managed to get much bigger and ruthless, but has also become a much better boxer than he was ever before something that became quite apparent during his fight with Jaime Munguia, where regardless of the criticism surrounding him and his overall shape or skills, the fighter managed to secure a remarkable victory for himself, which is something that can prove to be quite a hassle for anyone, especially for a fighter who is going to make a huge jump in weight in order to get into this fight.
I think Crawford, in my opinion, but size might matter. But then again, I think since when I fought Canelo's become a better boxer. He started boxing more better. You know what I mean? Technical more. Especially against the last fight against Mangui. He boxed really well as well, and he's looking really good. He's still, a lot of people might say, oh, he's getting old, this, that, another, but no, Canelo's still a beast.
Keeping these factors raised by Amir in mind, and after analyzing the recent training clips that Canelo and his team are sharing, it is no surprise that the fighter has transformed into a lethal beast who seems to be in the best possible condition of his career and has a clear motive of his next possible strategies to not only get the most lucrative fights before the end of the career, but also to make sure that these aid fights aid him in cementing his legacy as one of the most accomplished boxers of the generation who fought some of the best fighters that ever lived. So So in the end, what are your thoughts on the new developments regarding this whole fiasco? Are you excited about this surprising 4-fight deal between Canelo and Riyadh season, which includes the most awaited fight with Terence Crawford? Or are you disappointed at this decision and favor the fight with Jake Paul? Make sure to tell us about your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to our channel.